Professor Lakshman, founder and president of CPM Sri Lanka. Keynote speaker, Professor Pawan Singh, Director, Indian Institute of Management. Other distinguished guests, all the participants, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. Ayubowan, Wanakam, Assalamu alaikum. It is a great honor to be here today as a chief guest at the Management Insight Summit 2025, organized by CPM Sri Lanka, representing Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA. I extend my sincere gratitude to CPM for this invitation and for organizing such an important platform to discuss the role of management in steering Sri Lanka toward a resilient and prosperous future. The theme of this summit, Management X Factors for Sri Lanka, Maneuvering and Leading, is both timely and relevant. It underscores the necessity of bold leadership, strategic foresight, and innovation in navigating the complexity of today's world. In today's event, I was asked to speak about the role of transformative leadership, maneuvering, and leading. I actually spent 4 years in Sri Lanka, and my tenure is sadly drawing to a close in a week's time. And I'm leaving the country for good, transferring back to JICA headquarters in Tokyo. Since my arrival in Sri Lanka, the country has endured and overcome remarkable trials. Over the past 4 years, I have had the privilege of witnessing firsthand the resilience, adaptability, and determination of Sri Lanka and its people in the face of unprecedented challenges. And I came across some truly amazing leaderships that allowed us to maneuver and lead through the toughest challenges. Therefore, let me try to speak about the transformative leadership, reflecting on my 4 years tenure in Sri Lanka. First, I would like to talk about economic development over the past 4 years. I came here in April 2021, and before coming here, I met so many people in Japan who are knowledgeable about Sri Lanka. And I already started scratching the back of my head because I knew that some big ticket infrastructure projects were canceled, such as light rail transit, Eastern Container Terminal, Central Expressway, and so many other things. And the COVID-19 came in. The COVID-19 pandemic tested the strength of economies, healthcare systems, and communities worldwide, and Sri Lanka was no exception. And as time went by, just as the nation was beginning to recover, an economic crisis unfolded, bringing with it significant hardships for businesses, institutions, and the Sri Lankan people. Unprecedented default, one of the worst events in the history of Sri Lanka, at least in an economic sense, forced us, JICA, to suspend all the disbursement of our loans, whose total outstanding amount at that time stood at approximately $2.8 billion US. So we started to think about coping strategy. We didn't just stop dispersing, but we did something to take care of the vulnerable people by way of providing emergency assistance, which is not the strong point actually for JICA. JICA is quite known as a long-term engagement, long-term funding provider for, say, infrastructure projects and human resource capital and things like that, which takes quite a long time. So it was very challenging for us to provide quick emergency assistance to cope up with the evolving situation, worsening situation. But still people suffered. poverty rate increased, and people even reduced the number of meals and volume of meals day by day. Despite these adversities, Sri Lanka has demonstrated incredible resilience. The ability of businesses and public institutions to adapt, the unwavering commitment of professionals to sustain operations, and the collective determination of the people have been the driving forces behind the country's path to recovery. The recent elections and transitions to the new government under the leadership of His Excellency, the President, Jayewardenepura, have ushered in a new chapter, bringing hope for stability, growth, and reforms that will further strengthen Sri Lanka's economic and social foundations. As President have mentioned, Professor Lakshman mentioned in his speech, economic performance for the last several years have been remarkable. We have seen over 5% growth, annual growth of economy, and the price has been stabilized. We are actually seeing even the deflation a little bit. And the exchange rate has been stabilized, and the interest rate came down to not to a comfortable level still, but came down quite substantially. And the reform efforts have been done to satisfy IMF board to pass the third review the other day. And of course, recovery of debt sustainability has been also remarkable. The government of Sri Lanka has done a lot to strike a deal for debt restructuring with all the members of Official Creditors Committee by way of signing the MOU of understanding, Memorandum of Understanding on debt restructuring in June last year. And Japan was actually the first country out of these 17 members of Official Creditors Committee, OCC, to sign the individual agreement on amendment of the loan agreements to finalize the debt restructuring processes on 7th of March. And we have also seen the government strike a deal with the private bondholders in December last year by way of exchanging the existing bonds to a new bond. So speaking about this, Japan's role in debt restructuring, one of the significant milestones in this journey of economic recovery has been the recent signing of the amendment agreement of JICA existing loans for Sri Lanka's debt restructuring, as I said. $2.8 billion outstanding loans have been restructured. Repayment will not start until 2028, and the repayment will be completed in 2042 with the interest rate of 0.96% for the loans for government of Sri Lanka, and 0.18%, even lower percentage than the loans for Sri Lankan government, that is for airport project. And we have resumed all the 11 ongoing loan projects as early as July last year, upon the signing of the MOU, without waiting for the individual separate agreement to finalize the deal, which happened on 7th of March, which actually took such a long time, over half year since the signing of the MOU until the signing of the separate agreement, to restart all these ongoing loan projects so that we can support acceleration of the growth of the countries. And of course, also, as Professor Lakshman mentioned, such an important areas like anti-corruption, governance reform, and SOE reform, privatization, unbundling of power sector, public finance management improvement, etc., etc. These efforts done by the government of Sri Lanka, it's supported by JICA as well, by way of providing technical assistance by way of sending a lot of experts and even accepting some trainees, Sri Lankan trainees, to Japan as well. All the support of JICA is aimed at supporting Sri Lanka for regaining trust and confidence from people and companies from both inside and outside the country, so that Sri Lanka can get back to the normalcy in terms of raising the fund in the market in the future. What are the keys to this success? What are the X factors for Sri Lanka to maneuver through this tough time? I think the first and foremost, it was because of the most appropriate macroeconomic management by the authorities of government of Sri Lanka as well as central bank. So I would like to comment all the efforts done by the economic management team of the Sri Lanka government as well as central bank. And secondly, I think social and political stability was one of the major factors which was necessary conditions for Sri Lanka to recover from the worst time. We have seen the peaceful transition of power in elections in the past that showed really the mature democracy of Sri Lankan society. I think leadership in this endeavor was not conducted and shown by the leaders in the government, but all the people have shown their own leadership. You know, Jacqueline Novogratz, CEO of Acumen Fund. Acumen Fund is the, one of the largest impact investment and social investment funds in the world. She talks a lot about the leadership role, and she once said that she once talked about the leadership practice that help people lead themselves to think and act from a place of moral courage and purpose, redefining success, avoiding the conformity trap, partnering with humility and audacity, embracing the beautiful struggle. I think these are exactly what happened throughout the course of, say, past 2 or 3 years since the default of Sri Lanka. So there is a demonstration of all the people of exercising their own leadership for change. And the other X factor, which is equally important, was the friendly relationship that Sri Lanka has been enjoying with international society, including, of course, Japan, that helped the country to maneuver through this tough time. We have a lot of supports from international organizations, IMF, the World Bank, ADB, multilateral development banks, and bilaterals like JICA. But still, we have challenges remaining. We are not completely out of the woods, so we need to continue with the reform efforts, and we need to accelerate growth. As I discussed about the friendly relationship, I just also wanted to touch upon Japan-Sri Lanka relationship. During my stay in Sri Lanka for 4 years, we have celebrated several occasions to commemorate anniversaries. First one is the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relationship in 2022. That was amid the COVID-19 pandemic, so we were not able to to do what we wanted to do to celebrate in a big way. But anyways, we celebrated the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relationship. And we also celebrated the 70th anniversary of Japan's ODA in last year. And this year, we are celebrating the 18th anniversary of the end of World War II. 70th anniversary of Japan's ODA was commemorated because 70 years back, in 1954, Japan joined Colombo Plan, which is the first international organization headquartered in Asia, which was also the first international organization specialized in helping emerging nations in terms of socio-economic development. So we joined this Colombo Plan in 1954, 9 years after the World War II ended. Of course, during this 9 years period, we struggled a lot. We started from ash. We were badly burned down to ashes because of the World War II. And 9 years after that, we joined Colombo Plan, and we started as a nation of donor country to become a donor country, providing technical assistance, loan assistance, and grant assistance. Why was it possible for Japan to become a donor country in such a short period of time? I think it's because of Ceylon. Because 3 years before that, in 1951, we had this San Francisco Peace Conference, whereas Ceylon delegation was led by then Finance Minister Jayewardenepura, who made a historic speech citing Lord Buddha's word, hatred ceases not by hatred, but by love. And he called upon all the participant nations to forgive Japan and give up on reparation and compensation, and also to warmly welcome Japan back again into international arena. So we owe Japanese people and Japanese country as a whole still feels very gratitude for what Japan is, what we are today. So that is how we have started building our friendly relationship, unconditional friendly relationship between the two nations. And as Sri Lanka went into this default situation in 2022, it was natural for Japan to take the lead in the arena in the discussion of the restructuring deal and support people of Sri Lanka in terms of the emergency assistance that they needed and its course of economic recovery and accelerated growth and everything. Now, finally, I want to talk about the way forward leadership and the innovation for a thriving Sri Lanka. As a long-standing development partner of Sri Lanka, Japan International Cooperation, or JICA, remains steadfast in its commitment to supporting the country's recovery and economic growth. JICA continues to work hand in hand with Sri Lanka in areas such as infrastructure development, human resource capacity building, and policy reforms to enhance the country's economic resilience and global competitiveness. As Sri Lanka navigates its next phase of development, we are committed to fostering innovation, strengthening industries, and supporting initiatives that drive economic inclusive growth. Looking ahead, Sri Lanka stands at a critical juncture. The road to sustainable economic growth will require a combination of strategic decision-making, innovation, and leadership, quality that define the X factors in management. The ability to maneuver through complex challenges, foster collaboration across industries, and embrace new ideas will be critical in shaping a resilient and thriving Sri Lanka. In this context, platforms like this summit play a pivotal role in bringing together thought leaders, professionals, and policymakers to exchange insights and drive innovative strategies, forge new partnerships, and contribute to a collective vision for Sri Lanka's future. JICA stands ready to support Sri Lanka on this journey, and we look forward to continuing our collaboration in building a prosperous, inclusive, and forward-looking nation. Ladies and gentlemen, let us seize this moment to redefine success and paradigms, lead with vision and purpose, and work together toward a brighter future for Sri Lanka and everlasting friendly relationship between Japan and Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for listening. Buon studio. Thank you.